winter's coming and it's almost here. We got some cooler weather and you don't have any firewood. You've put it off, you've wasted your time, or you've been working, you've been too busy. But winter's here, heating prices are high, and you don't have any firewood. What do? You know, they tell you to cut your firewood in January, February, March, so it'll be dry for the winter. And this year, you didn't do that. Well, I'm in the same boat. I didn't do it either. I cut some in the summer, but I got my wood splitter late, so I couldn't do it in January, February, March. So what do? How do you get wood that's gonna burn in your fireplace? Now, well, the only thing you can do is to start cutting the wood. Now, obviously, your wood's not gonna be as dry as it could be, and the problem with wet wood is that it's not gonna burn as good, it's not gonna stay lit as long, and it's not gonna burn as hot. But there may be some things you can do to mitigate that a little bit. Now, one thing you wanna do is when you're looking for your logs, don't cut a tree down if you can help it, because those trees are gonna be the most wet and the most green. So I measured the log that's on that splitter, and it's at, from this moisture meter, it's a cheapo, but it's saying that it's at 28%. Well, actually it gave me a reading of too high, but it was, in some spots it was 28%. And then I came over here to my wood stack, which is here, and it told me that wood was at about, I was getting anywhere from 6 to 15%. Now this thing's not completely accurate, but it is telling me the changes in the wood percentage wise. So when you normally, when you cut wood, it's gonna be 60%. So that log right there is already drier than a normal tree that you would cut down. So the first step in last minute firewood is don't cut down a tree. Find a tree that's fallen. If you've got some land, or if you see a tree on the side of the road, ask if you can get that. But get a tree that's already fallen, that's been there. This tree is probably 2 years old. So if you can find a tree where it's kind of rotting on the outside and it's still got good wood in the middle, then that's a good first step to getting firewood last minute, because you've delayed and not cut when you're supposed to cut. The next step is going to be the way you stack it. You want to make sure when you stack it that you stack it in a way that allows for good airflow. This is a Norwegian wood stack, and it seems to do a pretty good job from checking the wood, but it allows airflow all around it, and it kind of keeps it where you can get airflow on through the middle of it. So it seems to be drying pretty quick, because I've cut this wood what I measured was just a few weeks ago, and it's measuring 4 to 10%. But of course the tree has been dead for probably 2 years. So the wood was pretty much dry whenever I cut it. So if you haven't cut your firewood, make sure to find wood the tree that's already been cut down. The next step is to get that tree off the ground. You want to make sure that there's no more rotting going to take place, because you're going to lose wood. So make sure you get the tree off the ground. If you can't cut it immediately, put it on some blocks so that it can stay dry. If it stays wet, it's going to get bugs in it, it's going to get termites or whatever. It's going to start eating that wood, so you need to get it off the ground so it can dry. Now, once you cut it up, you got your logs, ideally you can go ahead and cut it up into your blocks before you split it, and then it'll have more time to dry even more around the outside. Now, the last thing I want to say, if you run out of time and you just need firewood, so the last thing you can do is you can find a wood that's already kind of dry when you cut it. So around where I live, I have some eastern red cedar, and those things are bad about falling, dying, they'll fall over. They're hollow, a lot of times they're not any good. So if you cut those, they're already 17% moisture content whenever you cut them down. Or that's what my experience, they've been pretty dry already when you cut them down. So if you can mix some of that drier wood with some wetter wood, then fire's gonna burn hotter for longer. So that cedar, it won't burn near as long as like an oak, but it'll burn hot for a short period of time. And so you can use the oak and cedar mixed to keep your fire going longer. That's another idea on the last minute. But the main thing is go ahead and get it cut and get it to drying, and maybe by the end of the winter it'll be good enough to burn. But if you've wait until the last minute, we're in the same boat. But this year's not the year where you want to cheap out on firewood because I think the energy prices are going to be really high this winter. So we want to make sure we have enough firewood to get us through the winter. So you need to start cutting today if you hadn't already, because you're already too late. But find that dead tree, cut it up for firewood, and you should be able to make it through.